Hey Internet, welcome back to the Iceland travelogue. Today we spent another day in the Highlands, and so we had to drive along again these Highland roads, and these are pretty impressive when you have to find a passage through several forings and you have to drive up or down steep slopes, and yeah, this is pretty interesting. And there is also another thing I like to talk about, but I will come back to this later on. But at first, our first destination were the Veiðivötn, and this is a river full of small little lakes, and all these lakes are connected with some small roads, so you're able to have a round trip around all these lakes. And yeah, this is pretty amazing to drive along there and to see these lakes and to look inside them. And one additional thing is we discovered some small volcanoes, and these small volcanoes had the typical volcano shape, so it was a hill with some steep slopes, and it was really a crater in the middle, but unfortunately the crater was out of order because there was no melted rocks, and yeah, it was not glowing, it was not active, it was just solid rock, so it was a little bit disappointing, but on the other hand, maybe it was better so that it was not active right now. And yeah, then one additional thing which was pretty interesting is that there was a airstrip. So yeah, you were even able to land there with an airplane if you had the right airplane. And the thing is located in the nowhere. It's the runway is out of gravel, and there are only a few markers to mark the runway. And yeah, this is pretty interesting. And after we finished our round trip around the Veiðivötn, we decided that we should start some kind of expedition because there was a other highland road called let me just see this on my shiny little map. I hope you can see this a little bit here. It's hard to see on the thing, but the Highland Road is called the F229, and the thing is leading towards the western part of the Jökulheimar, and this is the largest glacier. I have already talked about this, and so we started to drive along this road, and this was pretty impressive because all the time you were driving, I think it was old volcanic ash, so it was very fine gravel, and this was pretty interesting. And now comes the interesting part, because this gravel was sometimes like sand, and driving on a huge amount of sand is pretty interesting. It was for me like driving on snow. Yeah, on snow. This was, to me, it was like driving on snow, and this was pretty interesting when your car is reacting completely different. And yeah, for me, I can best compare this to driving on snow. And yeah, so we continued on this Highland Road until we arrived at Jökulheimar, and there are some small, I think it's hiking cabins or something like this. They look pretty beautiful from the inside, but unfortunately they were locked, and so we were only able to have a short glance through the windows, but still it was pretty interesting. And then of course we had a short glance on the Vatnajökull, and yeah, this was also pretty interesting to see this glacier in the distance. And yeah, I have to admit these highlands are, it's my impression from Iceland because, this is how I think Iceland must look like, because with these volcanoes, with the old lava fields, with the volcanic ash, and yeah, I pretty much enjoy every minute out there, and so this is really my Iceland, and I really would like to stay a little bit longer here and go on longer hiking tours or something like this to discover more of this beautiful landscape. And here, after we had a short view onto the Vatnajökull glacier, we decided to drive back. And yeah, then we decided, okay, we should visit at least one additional waterfall. So yeah, we drove to the Háifoss, and this is pretty interesting because it's basically one river, but the river splits apart. So you have one river leading towards the waterfall, and then you have two different waterfalls. And this was also pretty interesting, and especially one of these two waterfalls, or the waterfall called the Háifoss, is the second largest, no, the second highest of Iceland, so it's about 126 meters of altitude, and this is pretty impressive. And yeah, with this, we are already at the end of today, And yeah, it was pretty amazing. And now I'm looking forward to the next day. But I can say the highlands are really my favorite part of Iceland. Well, I'm not quite sure. I have to see some other parts. But right now, I pretty much like the highlands, and I really would like to stay a little bit longer here. And with this beautiful thought, I like to thank you. And until next time, see you!